one day somebody does something unspeakable to someone else, to someone you hardly knew, and you do something about it, because you can.
This story comes to us from MSN.com. A Pawtucket man has filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the city of Providence, accusing officers of unlawfully arresting him in 2023 after he suffered a seizure while working as an Uber driver. The 12-count lawsuit filed Tuesday at U.S. District Court in Providence seeks $2 million in damages, accusing the defendants of negligence, unlawful arrest, malicious prosecution, civil rights violations, and failure to properly train officers. The lawsuit stems from an incident in August of 2023 when Taj Eddington suffered a seizure while working as an Uber driver, according to the lawsuit. His car hopped the curb on Broad Street in Providence and hit a storefront. Police body-worn camera video shows when officers arrived, Eddington's hands were stiff with his arms outstretched, that's what happens, while sitting behind the wheel of his car.
Taj Eddington was driving a passenger on an early August morning in 2023 when he suffered a medical event. A federal lawsuit filed Tuesday alleges the police department failed to properly train its officers after Eddington was taken to the ground and arrested. Providence police body-worn camera video shows Taj Eddington behind the wheel of his car, hands clenched. His Uber passenger describing to officers what happened before the crash.
Boom. Oh, okay. So he had a seizure.
A 12-count federal lawsuit against the city, its department, the police colonel, and 5 officers alleges instead of calling for medical help, police used unnecessary force to take Eddington into custody. Officers drove to the hospital. There, with his hands still in cuffs, Eddington fell out of the cruiser onto his face. The lawsuit says he broke a bone. 2 criminal charges against Eddington were eventually dropped. At the time, Colonel Oscar Perez says the officers' actions were justified and they disciplined 1 officer for swearing during the incident.
Rather than call for medical help, the lawsuit alleges the officers violently attempted to place the plaintiff in handcuffs and to take him into custody. While the defendants were attempting to get the handcuffs on the plaintiff, he was screaming, "I can't breathe. Get off of me. Get off. I can't breathe. Stop. You're killing me. Stop. I am going to die. Help me. Stop. Let me go," according to the lawsuit. That's an end quote. Police eventually drove Eddington to the hospital in a cruiser, and the video shows when they opened the door to bring him to the emergency department, Eddington, who was in handcuffs, fell onto the pavement face first. The lawsuit said he suffered a broken bone and facial lacerations. The incident generated news coverage with some community leaders calling for the release of the police video. According to the lawsuit, Eddington received a call from Providence Police Colonel Oscar Perez 2 days later after the incident asking to meet. Listen to this. Quote, defendant Perez cautioned the plaintiff that a release of the recordings could be embarrassing for him. That's according to the lawsuit. Josh Estrella, a spokesperson for Mayor Brett Smiley, declined to comment, citing the ongoing litigation. Eddington was charged with 2 misdemeanor counts, but the charges were eventually dropped because it's a medical issue. He is no longer driving for the rideshare company because he has seizures. In the joint statement at the time, Smiley and Perez said the incident had been reviewed and it was determined that the officers followed the appropriate use of force protocols, though one of them was disciplined for excessive profanity. Along with the city, the police department, and Perez, the lawsuit names Patrolman Manuel Vlon, Andrew Brodeur, Michael Sullivan, and 2 unnamed officers as defendants. I think I did the editorial on this one. The federal complaint alleges the city grossly failed to train its police officers. Defendant City of Providence and Defendant Colonel Perez ratified the behavior of the defendant officers by failing to discipline them and by engaging in a policy of charging persons experiencing a medical emergency, according to the lawsuit. Eddington is represented by attorneys Bethany Mactaz and Lisa Hawley. Target 12 reached out to Eddington and Mactaz regarding the lawsuit, but both declined to comment because it's a litigation and they don't want to get into it. But police chief, man, they always, our officers did everything right. This will keep us from getting sued. Too late. This will keep us out of liability if I just say they did everything right. Well, it's up to a jury to decide now, probably. But this defendant, Oscar Perez, contacting the plaintiff to say, if you release this video, it could be embarrassing to you. I wouldn't do it. Isn't that intimidation of a plaintiff? Very interesting. Isn't that intimidation of a plaintiff in a lawsuit? I don't know. Think you can do time for that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He's a police chief. What am I saying?